Hello once again, so soon. In my last post I mentioned Sampo, the icebreaker. Well, I read a book 3 or 4 times actually called Icebreaker, A Voyage Far North by Horatio Clare. I have it here. And I'm not sure if many Finns know about this book, and it's really worth a look. It's a great story, and in the future I will quote quite a bit from it. And you can actually buy this book on Kindle for around €5. Well worth the money, I can assure you. Now, some of my posts will be fact and some will be a myth. But you Finns will know the difference, I'm sure. Now, I read an awful lot and from many books and different articles, and I hope I paraphrase as opposed to plagiarizing these articles. Hopefully. Now, to my recent knowledge, there are just over 6 million Finns, sandwiched between 10 million Swedes and 145 million Russians. Now, Finland will be very aware of this, but living next to the Big Bear is a little bit concerning. Not for the Finns, but for the Russians, who will no doubt remember the Winter War of 1939. Now, the Finns have 77 billion trees, over 200,000 lakes, 250,000 moose, and just one Santa Claus called Joulupukki, who is definitively the only one, but to be fair, not as cuddly as you might think because of his pagan roots. He originally was a goat that frightened children. And let's not forget the film of 2010, Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. A scary movie indeed. Now, the area of Finland is probably as big as Germany. And it's expanding, oddly enough. It's expanding every year about the same size as Gibraltar because of post-glacial rebound. That's where the miles of ice on top of the country sank it. And since the ice has melted, it's gradually moving back. And we in England have the same thing happening here. Locally to us is Romney Marsh. And that's probably the reason that Port Lim, the Roman port, is now several miles from the coastline. And it's not because of a receding sea, it's because the land is springing back. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and the things that I've noticed about the Finns, is that they are a little bit different than the average Western nation. Extraordinary, some might say. But unlike most Europeans, they don't speak an Indo-European language. They speak their own language, miles from Latin or anything like that at all. In fact, they hardly communicate in their own language at all, preferring not to squander their words. The Finns are gutsy, honest, hard-working, reliable, socially responsible, down-to-earth kind of people who respect others and their privacy to such an extent that they avoid looking you in the eye. And I know this to be true. And they also share an aversion to whinging. As similar, the Australians are a bit like that. They don't like whingers. But they don't share their social ease with strangers. Now, the Finns probably envy the Mediterranean people, their climate especially, but do not care for their over-the-top show of emotion. A Finn can get extremely angry or ecstatically happy without the use of any facial expressions whatsoever, or a change in tone of voice. A Finn will only wave his hands when he's either drowning or on fire. The story goes that you know when a Finn is becoming your friend, because when he stops looking down at his shoes and then he looks at your shoes, then you know you're becoming his friend. Now, the Finns are convinced that there is no better country than Finland, and I quite agree. And they call Finland Suomen tasavalta, Suomi for short. And the Finns extol the beauty of its thousands and thousands of lakes and thick forest. Hills in the east, rivers weaving through pastoral lands in the west, and the tundra of the northern regions of Lapland. They think that all the places on the planet, it is the safest place in the world to live. There are no volcanoes, no tsunamis, no hurricanes, earthquakes, or deadly spiders. Nothing like that whatsoever. However, the mercury can plunge below -40 centigrade, and you can die of hypothermia if you don't dress up properly. And that is just a minor inconvenience. The possibility of being mauled by a bear or eaten by a pack of wolves in the wilderness is also, of course, barely worth mentioning. That you can die of hypothermia if you don't get dressed appropriately is a minor inconvenience. Some Finns believe that Finland should include other bits of land, such as the part of Karelia, which was lopped off the rest of Finland by the Russians after World War II, and which is the Karelia of the Karelian question of Finnish politics. Others prefer to let sleeping dogs lie, or more accurately, the Russian bear should be left to sleep. But let's not forget that the Russian bear has had some teeth removed since the Union collapse. And the Russian bear will always growl, threaten and intimidate, just like any other bully will. Let's try to forget the megalomaniac neighbours on both sides. Sweden and Russia, because Sweden ruled Finland for a long time. The Finnish flag with a blue cross on a white background represents freedom. The blue being the embodiment of the sky and the lakes, and the white symbolising clouds and snow. It is proudly hauled up flagpoles all over the land to honour numerous official flag days, election days and private celebrations. And there is also a display of candles, whites and blue candles displayed in windows all over Finland to celebrate Independence Day on the 6th of December 1917, which is only just over 100 years, 105 to be precise. I was most impressed by Finland's display of respect when I witnessed the lighting of candles in cemeteries all over Christmas holiday. And that sure brought a tear to my eye, and I will never forget it until the day I die. And then maybe someone will light a candle on my grave. Who knows? We are all born to die, and we must accept that fact. What happens after is anyone's guess. But, in my humble opinion, being a spiritual entity having a human experience, that's what I am. I'm forever hopeful in the faith in me. Dogmatic religion or atheism has no place in my life. Let's not forget our past, when we relied on the village elders and magic potions. The answers lay in the faith we had, and not the belief we have now in mass hysteria forced upon us by crazy governments. I won't go into the feelings between Finland and Sweden. Suffice it to say, I've been present at an ice hockey match between the two of you, and I'll leave that there. What is Finland famous for? Wow, that's a difficult one. Sauna is the most famous, and Finland gave the word sauna to the world, but most people pronounce it incorrectly. The AU is pronounced as in cow, sauna. That's one word that I do get right, I think. Nokia, that's another big one. A lot of people here in England believe that Nokia was Japanese, and of course it wasn't. Nokia is actually a town in Finland. And not only did it produce phones, but also tyres and Wellington boots. And I think originally it was a paper factory. Could be wrong there. Another great invention of the Finns is the draining cupboard, along with Angry Birds, Mammy. Mammy, it's an Easter treat, but not one I enjoyed, I must admit. Heart rate monitor, the internet browser, vertical axis wind turbines, Fiskars scissors, the safety reflector, ice skates, Linux operating system, SMX texting, all invented in Finland, and the Moomins. And not forgetting, one of the big ones was the Molotov cocktail. They invented that during the Winter War, and it helped destroy a lot of Russian tanks. I will now attempt another Finnish proverb. Ei hauku harvey tea. A bark does not wound, I think. In English it means sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. By the way, the Finns have a very, very special word that has no direct interpretation. It's sisu, S-I-S-U, sisu. And roughly means, there's no real interpretation of it, but it roughly means gritty courage, in the face of outrageous odds, and the will to never give up, and a spirit that will never be broken. That's a good explanation for it. And I was determined not to bring politics into my videos, but I must say this. We have a national problem in England with people coming here as asylum seekers. And as you probably know, I don't know if it's the same law in your country, but here, any asylum seeker that comes here is not allowed to work. But over the last few years, there have been thousands, and I'm talking 30,000 plus, which is a great strain on the economy. Now, my solution for this is, if these people who come here are so pleased to be here and they want to live in our country, if it were me and I'd been an asylum seeker in another country and that country asked me to fight for them, then I would say yes, I would. I would do that. And we have a very limited military presence in this country, very limited. And I think that if these people that come here are so enthralled with being in England, then they should be, the young ones especially, the young, fit men, of which most of them are, should be trained in the army, and they should be used in situations that may need our defence. And I'm sure you know what I mean by that, because there is trouble brewing east of Finland, and I'll say no more. I'm just wondering if of what I've said in the last paragraph will get this banned or shut up. I don't know. I've been banned before on YouTube for saying things that I should not. But having said that, the things I've said in the past that were banned have now come to be true. And that hurts, but I receive no apology. But that's life. And I'll leave you with that. And I thank you for listening on this Monday evening at 7:15 in England. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.